Fiction. Fiction. You want to talk about fiction? Fiction. Talk about fiction. The times they are a-changin'. In the state of Oklahoma, yeah, that's an appropriate citation. And there's a point about that. The times they are a-changin'. Fiction. How about rewritten history, huh? The holiday that's typically termed Thanksgiving is typically celebrated in the United States of America upon the third Thursday of November. Each third Thursday of November of each year is what Americans call Thanksgiving. Looking at the Wikipedia page these days during the Donald J. Trump presidential term, the Wikipedia suggests all sorts of stories about Thanksgiving. Quite a lot of different stories. Not a single story about the turkey. Not actually. Looking around in social media posts within the suggested borders of the United States of America, not a single Thanksgiving post in a mainstream news channel or government channel on the third Thursday of November. Not actually. Fiction. How about that? How about the coincidence of the French word haunt, meaning shame, Pocahontas, fiction, and determining the differences between truth and fiction is variably peculiar. Time of various, there's a point about a story. Fiction. There are points about all sorts of stories, really. All sorts of fictional stories as well. Dungeons and Dragons, for an example. Great fiction. Quite a lot of great points about the series titled Dungeons and Dragons. It's like a campaign setting. There's actually a role play game based upon the Dungeons and Dragons story setting, the campaign setting. Fiction. Fiction. The Catholic Church, what most people call Catholic, the Catholic Church, Latins, and a story about a guy named Jesu, or Jesu even, in the Latin and Italian pronunciation of the guy's name, supposedly the Son of God. Fiction. And reward of murder is forgiveness and eternal life with God the Father. Fiction. And then, Hebrew people in Israel. Fiction. And Jews started to occupy the country of Israel, reestablished as a country within the year 1901. All right? 1901. You can look that up. Why? Why? Reference Machiavelli the Prince. And the capability, okay, then reference the first printing press. Oh, well, the Italians had the first printing press, yeah. Yeah. Right there in Italy. The Italians did. Yeah, they had it all. That's what they say. All right? That's what's published about that. Fiction. Oh, in 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue and landed near Mexico? Oh, yeah? Landed near Mexico? That's why the Mexicans speak Espanol. Look up the word panoles within Greek. Look up the Cherokee syllabary. Notice the syllable for nah. Looks like a theta. Because the tribals actually are educated, intelligent people. The Mayans. The tribals actually are Mayan. The Mexicans actually are Mayan. Alright? This side of the planet is the Mayan side of the planet. The opposite side of the planet is the Gaian side of the planet. Just like in Greek. Maya and Gaia. Synonymous reference for this planet. Culture really is not necessarily fiction. Not actually. That's like sociology. Culture really is sociological. Well, why? Then, why? Alright? Yeah, you think the tribals actually are so tough that Christopher Columbus wiped out and genocided? That's what Americans suggest. That the Mayans within Mexico were genocided already. They were already genocided, man. The tribals actually are just stubborn, oppressed people. A remnant of a people in the good white American society. And that's fiction. That's matter of fact fiction. Because the Mexicans actually are Mayan. The tribals actually are Mayan as well. 1492 all the way to 1776, huh? Yet again, even 1776, fiction. What sort of credit do you want, Americans? Fiction. Invaders' descendants. Reference Freud. The ego and the id. Freud was a comedian. Alright? So was Jung. You want to read about that? Look up in Facebook. Facebook.com/Jason, Jason, Scott, Skott, Hughes, Hughes, .77. You read about how Freud and Jung were comedians, men. Condescending comedians. Talking about the problems that the white invaders' descendants would incite to sociology on a global context. 1776, and the Ride of Paul Revere, and fiction, buds, fiction. A really old document, fiction. Try and carbon date it. Try and carbon date much of anything and get any sort of reliable date. Fiction! How about a story? There was an import deal back in the 1800s. Okay? And the Gaians actually had something, and various Gaians schemed about things. And they decided that they would offer the Mayans things. Yeah, trade deals. They'll offer them these things at good prices and good deals. They just want to get along and that sort of thing and learn. Long enough to get into the borders, scope things out, make their sufficient plans, go back to the guy inside of the planet, get all the recruits that they can muster, and they still try and muster recruits to this day. To invade this continent, murder tribals, and steal their land. That's fact, buds. Read my Facebook page. I want a good society. It's the only probability that people might have slightest probability of survival within any sort of context. There should be red states, black states, and white states. Separately distinct states of the United States of America, because I'm going to let you white people get away. Any sort of easy. Not at all. Matter of fact, I've got enough backup of quite a lot of the Gaian governments. Yeah, matter of fact. Though I'm thinking, instead of murdering all of you war criminal terrorists, that really the Gaians should enforce appropriate law and legal arguments that suppress you white Americans at a penalty. Yeah. And you can complain, and you can quibble, and la 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 la, and it won't matter. Not at all. For 4 years, I've been actually writing to the American federal government about a good society plan. They ain't even got it enough to get the ball rolling. Not at all. Though they jump in, they suggest they jumped into that whole American government thing. They had 13 states cited in the American Constitution. 13. Though 3 of those states were predominantly occupied of Mayans. So they got 10. 10 states that they battled for. Now think about this. 1492 to 1776. 1492 to 1776. And they had 13 states, though only 10 states that they had a predominant population of white Americans within. Fiction about the 1492. Total fiction. Sociological terrorism, in fact. To suggest that Mayans were genocide, the Mexican Mayans were genocided already and now they're Spanish. Really, the Mexicans made Espanol. And then Spain started practicing the speech of Espanol. Matter of fact, there was an OETA special. The OETA is like the public education channel for the state of Oklahoma. There was an OETA special about the source of the tribals. And Guy got on there and said that all the tribals migrated out of Russia across the land bridge. They were really Norse Vikings. Total fiction. There ain't no way Noah the time traveler. Not at all. Do you understand? You didn't bring ants and little insects to this side of the planet. Not at all. You didn't bring all the distinct species of the various different animals to this side of the planet. Not at all. They were already here. Humans crawled out of separate pools, parallel of each other. You're not related to Negroes, you white Americans. Not at all. You're not related to Asians, you white Americans. Not at all. You're a bunch of sociological, war criminally insane terrorists. Suggest I have a point about that. I want a good society. Cope. So, within the 1800s, white people decided to start killing Mayans and stealing the land. Or else y'all think that the tribals actually are the toughest, most stubborn hombres upon the planet. Probably really intelligent, considering the typical large size of their heads. Huh. The tribals got stuck with the title of savages. Savages, they're savages, said the white Americans. Bunch of barbaric Neanderthals. What y'all look like. You got slightest problem? Oh well. Alright? The point partially is that you're cheating yourselves. You want to lie about science and then go along for yet other 50 years, 100 years, and then act like you're going to actually figure it all out and get honest about it. You're going to spite yourselves. You're all going to spite yourselves to death. Somehow or other, or you're going to let up. And you're still going to spite yourselves. Quite a lot. I want a good society. Cope with that. Because that's my point. It's the only way that a species of any sort upon this planet, as well as the planet itself, might survive. You bullfracking suggestions that you got any sort of reason about your terrorism? Fiction writers! Oh, you're all clean and washed white as snow. Fiction writers! Why should I let up on the culpability of Italy that facilitated all of your bullshit? Your sociological detriments. You fiction writers. I was born October 23rd of 1977. I grew up coping with the fact that a bunch of white American war criminally insane terrorists actually had all intention of attempting to get away with their really blatantly obvious crime. That's terrible, terrible planning. You terrible fiction writers.